nerds, it's Tiri, and I'm finally doing my Warcraft movie review. I know, right after I saw it would have been the best idea, but 3 weeks later is better than not at all. First, I'd like to go over the structure of this video. At the beginning, the first half of the video will be a non-spoilery and obviously then more vague. In the second half of the video, I will have a thing up here. You'll see it now as an example. The last half of the video with that icon showing will be semi-spoilery. And you may say, Tiri, that doesn't really seem spoilery to me. I'm a little on the cautious side because there are certain things that I might not want to know about a movie. Other people wouldn't really care. So if you haven't seen this movie, the first half is totally safe for you to watch. And the second half, well, watch at your own risk. Warcraft the movie, birthed after Blizzard's Warcraft universe, was directed by Duncan Jones and co-written by Charles Levitt and Duncan Jones at Legendary. It is the story about Azeroth and how Lothar helps his people protect themselves against the invading horde who come from Outland, well, Draenor I guess it was at that time, after Gul'dan opens the portal to save his orcs from their world, which is falling apart for reasons we find out in the movie. And orcs, the ruthless beings that they are, do nothing but pillage and steal land from other people, much like Vikings. That brings me to a whole nother point I have to make in this video, but I'll get to that. I should note, I saw Warcraft in 3D. I love watching 3D movies if they were recorded in 3D. I am all about them. I know some people get dizzy or sick watching 3D movies that are fast-paced with battle scenes and lots of moving and flying. And this movie was great in 3D. I loved it. My husband, who's a little sensitive, not like crazy sensitive, but he's a little bit sensitive to 3D movies sometimes. They make him feel a little queasy, and this one didn't do that to him at all either. The first thing I noticed about this movie, I actually missed for the first like 10 minutes. Suddenly I found myself going, hold on a second, what, who, where? Now, I should note, I am a person who has played Warcraft, World of Warcraft since Burning Crusade. I played some Warcraft, but I was so young, I don't really remember or don't even think I ever knew any of the story from the old Warcraft games. And I have a mild understanding of lore in the Warcraft universe. Very mild. I'm interested in parts of it. Actually, I'm interested in a lot of it, but I've taken interest in just various parts of it. So I have very broken up, mild understanding of the lore. I didn't get very far through the movie before I was like, okay, I know who that is. That's Medivh. And I know that Ben Foster is doing a fantastic job at playing Medivh so far. And I know that that's Lothar. I love Travis Fimmel, and I've been so excited about him playing Lothar. I know who these people are, but what is their story? Who is this person? Why is he here? Where is this? And they do throw around a lot of terminology and names, which is good because obviously you need to know what's going on and where they are, especially if you haven't played Warcraft games, which they claim anybody who hasn't played Warcraft and isn't familiar with any of the Warcraft lore should be able to enjoy this movie. I'm skeptical of that because, like I said, a person who's played Warcraft has a mild understanding of the lore, felt like the pace was fast. Not so much on the story side, but the characters. I felt like I didn't know enough about the characters before we were just like jumping into the story, you know? And I will say, obviously, you have to cut back a lot of time on things later to release the final of your movie because there's a lot of stuff you have to cut. You can only make a movie so long, right? I personally think that more character development should have been at the beginning, and I think that the fight scenes later on in the movie actually could have afforded to have lost little bits here and there. Just shave off a little bit here and there, add some more character backstory and building. All right, my version of non-spoilery character covering. There's some things I'm gonna save for the spoilery side because I want people to be able to make their opinions without having another person's opinion already in their mind. So the non-spoilery stuff, one thing that sticks out of my mind that I wouldn't have cared to know before I watched the movie is that The dwarves I thought were done really well. I heard one complaint by someone, I think I heard it a couple times, that they were a bit large. I disagree, because if you look at dwarves and gnomes, they're exceptionally bigger. And if you're up close to a dwarf and you're like face level with them, which is mostly the way that they were shown in the movie, they are big. They look big. They're very wide and bulky. They're badasses, okay? They're just short. They're just short. I thought that was fantastic. I thought the dwarves were done well. I thought the orcs were done really well. I thought the animation and CGI was great. I didn't notice any issues with it. The other characters I haven't mentioned, I liked overall. I thought the writing of their character was amazing. Most of the acting was great, but I will cover some specific things regarding those characters in the spoilery section. The battle scenes. The fighting scenes I thought were done very well, and the scale of how big these armies were was really, really cool. I thought the fighting was amazing. That's all I really have to say about that. Another thing that I would be excited to know about before I watch the movie myself was I loved the way they did the magic. It's very easy to make magic seem corny in movies or TV shows, and Legendary really conquered this, I think. Specifically when Medivh casts magic, which I thought was important because Medivh is this strong mage. He's extremely well-diversed in his craft. And so he should be very quick and have more colors, and which obviously it's not like that in the game. But I think it really adds a lot to have Khadgar as a novice looking up to Medivh, who has been practicing magic for much longer. And it's hilarious the way that he casts his spells. You can tell he's really working at it, while Medivh is just like, yeah, this is the thing I do, whatever. I mean, just drinking my coffee, what? Next, the places were amazing. The Stormwind Marketplace, the throne room, the huts that the orcs lived in, looking over at their camps with all of their housing. Oh, so cool and so vast. It just brings you into the world. And it breaks my heart that these places had to get torn down. They should have made them into amusement parks. They were so, so beautiful. The romance side of the whole story, which really any movie needs that, honestly. The scale of it is up to the show and the type of show that it is, but I feel like the level of romance in this movie was perfect. They didn't overdo anything. Obviously, Duratan and Draka were married, so they're going to have romance, and that was all sweet and made you kind of feel for the orcs as a clan. And then you had another side of romance, which I'm not going to spoil. That's going to be in my spoiler section, and I thought that was done very well. It could have easily been overdone, and it was not. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So overall, to end my non-spoilery section of this movie, I loved the movie Warcraft. Note, I am a Blizzard fangirl, I will say that, but there were some issues that I had with it, and I will get more into that in my spoilery side. I had a couple, obviously, at the beginning of this video, so hopefully that was expressing a slight unbiased view, which is what a review of a movie should be. All right. Spoilery side. First, I'm going to talk about the characters. This is what I feel most strongly about, the things that kind of irritated me the most. The characters that I had issues with in particular, but I still liked them. First of all, Lothar, played by Travis Fimmel, which I love so much. He was fantastic in Vikings, but man, don't bring Ragnar Lothbrok into the Warcraft universe. He doesn't belong there. He doesn't, especially not as Lothar. He was about 60% Ragnar Lothbrok, 40% his new Lothar character that he developed in his mind. And that just kept grabbing my attention, and I feel like I may have missed out on some things because I was so focused on that, and I was sitting there going, not watching Vikings. So overall, I did like Lothar's character. I would like to have seen the Lothar beaten out of him a little bit before the final cut, but what can you do? That was actually the point that I was referring to when I brought up Vikings earlier. Because he's like his Viking self when he's supposed to be against the Viking-esque characters in this movie. The next character that I had some skeptical feelings about was Garona, who is the halfling involved in the situation, kind of back and forth between the orcs and the humans, whose side she's going to take. Who's accepting her, for one thing, is the humans, so she's like hanging out with them. I felt like her halflingness was more like 80-20-ness, like she was mostly human with orc skin and tusks. And she was supposed to be a halfling. I wish that they would have just beefed Garona up a little bit. Given her some bigger tusks. I mean, they were like this. They were like this big. They were so little and skinny. Like, make them just a little bigger and make her a little bigger. Her size, she was human size, human shape, and then she had some tiny little tusks, and she was green. Okay, so then you look at the orc human scale that they had. The orcs were ginormous. I feel like she should have just been a little bigger, and I think that part of that may have stemmed from the alluding to a possible romance between her and Lothar. Might have been weird for the majority of viewers to see this like big orc bitch and a little human. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want her to be huge. Just a little beefed up. Just work out, girl. Work out. Not CGI, just little bulk. Next on characters. Medivh. Ben Foster. If you can make people forget you're Ben Foster, you're doing a good job. He did such a great Medivh. I loved him in that character. I also really enjoyed Khadgar's character. I thought that he did a really good job of stepping into the apprentice mage thing. And he dealt with the casting of spells in such a cool way. I loved him. I thought he was great. The orcs. I pretty much loved all of the orcs equally. I thought that they were made very nice. They were made very different, yet the same, obviously, similar. And Duratan, obviously my favorite because he was the nice one, and I'm an alliance. So, you know, he was great. I thought they did a wonderful job with Thrall. He was so adorable. I just wanted to like cuddle him. He was so cute. Baby orcs for the win. I need a little baby Thrall pet now. That would be weird. What, would I drag him around in his little basket? I loved how Draka was pretty in an orc way. They didn't like go, okay, so orc women have to be super hot because people are watching and they want to see hot people. I love that they made orc women look like orc women in the game, only obviously more, you know, more movie-like. And that's kind of, I think, another reason why I had a little bit of an issue with Garona. I felt like I was watching J-Lo, and I didn't feel like J-Lo fit. It just doesn't, I know it wasn't J-Lo, but I felt like I was watching J-Lo, and it was uncomfortable for me. As far as the other races were concerned, I did like the way they did the Night Elves. I would have liked to have seen more, but I understand they didn't really fit in this scenario. I like that they worked them in when they had the meeting with the other races to try to gather forces against these orcs. You know, you saw the dwarves and you saw the Night Elves there. That was all great. The Tirinei were in this movie, which I thought was weird. I'll go over that in a second when I get back to the story holes that I have found. I thought that they were done well, but only knowing that they were being beaten down and siphoned of their energy and their life to power the portal. They looked terrible. I mean, they all just looked awful. I would love to see a movie with Tirinei as a force to be reckoned with. Maybe the story about how they came to Draenor and just, you know, a story of them where they're not slaves basically and being just murdered and malnourished. But I thought that they were done well given the circumstances. That pretty much covers characters. Any of the other characters, the king and everyone else involved, I thought that it was good. I didn't have any problems. I didn't have any oh my god moments with them. They were good. Another thing I was very impressed with and loved so dearly was the Griffin. Lothar's Griffin was amazing. I think there was a part where he actually fought a little bit. That was pretty badass. Let me ask you a question, Blizzard. Where's our 2-seater Griffin? As far as the story goes in the Warcraft movie, I walked away asking 2 questions. One, I found out, was actually not a story hole, but I'm going to tell the story because you might have had the same thought. The other one is a story hole, and I assume they're not going to elaborate on that in future movies, which kind of makes me sad. My first question about the story while watching this movie was, why the hell were the Tirinei in Draenor with them at this point in time? Didn't they come way later, like during the Lich King era? I mean, they crashed on their ship there, and then they were there, and they existed. No, wrong, what? Now, they didn't leave Draenor, aka Outland, but they were definitely there before all this. They fled from Argus when Kil'jaeden became corrupt, and they were like, oh my god, you're crazy, we're freaking out of here. And they traveled from place to place until they finally found what they called Draenor, and they made their home. And they met the orcs that were in Nagrand and befriended them. They kind of just coexisted. They weren't buddies or anything. Kil'jaeden, in all of his controlling freakishness, was searching for the Tirinei, found them, and through Gul'dan, corrupted them. Tirinei fought the orcs, and the Tirinei became corrupted with fel energy and became their little siphons. Whoa, cool story. I didn't know that. Now, as we know, Arthas became the Lich King and did all of his crazy shit way after this. So why was Dalaran floating? Coolness factor? Probably. So that people would recognize it as Dalaran? That could be why as well. Dalaran didn't get erected into the air by the Kirin Tor until the Second War, when Arthas and his forces destroyed it. Then they put the dome over it to protect it from sight so that they could repair it. And they're like, and they popped it up in the air, and then it was floating, Dalaran. That's why the old Dal portal exists and you fall to your death. Hilarious. But anyway, that's the hole in the story that I still haven't found a way around. I understand movies will do different things with the story or the landscape to make it more movie-esque, more cinematically impressive. And that's all good and fine. I have no problem with that. I'm just a little disappointed that the story of how Draenor was erected and, you know, the Second War and all of that has kind of been ruled out as a sequel. So unless somebody completely different makes it with different people, different side of the story. But it's really the only hole in the story that I have not cracked. And to cover the other romance that I didn't want to spoil was the romantic scene between Lothar and Garona. I thought that was a nice touch. That was cool. But thank you for not having them just suddenly make out like I was just sitting there terrified. I was terrified that that was gonna happen. I was like, no. That would just ruin it. Don't kiss. Don't kiss. That's too much. So they went so far with it, and then they left the rest at mystery. Thank you. Imagine what's gonna happen in the future. And then, of course, she betrays Lothar, supposedly. The only person that knows she didn't was the king. And that was a really cool touch on the story as well, because of the relationship that Lothar and Garona had, which developed a little fast, I feel like. That was a little fast for me. I feel like they could have built that up a little more and shown a little bit more scenes between them, because all of a sudden they were like this close and they're like, oh, I have feelings for you. And then it was like, what? When did that happen? Why do you care for each other so much? Stuff happened. It was just really fast paced the way it happened. As a result, I was happy with the level of romance there. I also very much enjoyed the whole Moses being put in a basket. I mean, they're all being put in a basket and sent down the river to carry on the Durotan and Draka legacy, even though he has no clue. She told him, hey, you are son of Durotan and Draka, the unbroken line of chieftains. But Thrall then has a completely different story to tell. Well, those are all the main points I wanted to touch on. If I think of anything else, I'll probably make a part 2. But overall, I thought this movie was fantastic. There were some issues, but I was able to get past them, whether it was my fangirlness or just the other things that made up for the issues. I'm not sure. But all I know is I love the movie. If you like the Warcraft universe at all, it's definitely worth the watch. Though their goal was people that have nothing to do with the Warcraft universe, never played the games, never read the lore, will be able to enjoy this movie. I am not sure, and I'm very curious to hear what other people have to say that never saw any Warcraft material before seeing the movie. I think that a person could enjoy it. I think that it was done well enough that they could get into it, but I'm curious if any of you don't, which I know a lot of you haven't played Warcraft. I have a lot of viewers that haven't played Warcraft. If any of you don't, let me know what you thought of the movie in the comments if you saw it. And I will be asking around. I have heard that a couple of people did enjoy it. Like, guy took girlfriend to see Warcraft. She actually loved it. Who the hell thought? But I could definitely understand a person not being able to get into the story if they didn't know Warcraft, because I did, and some of it was a little fast-paced for me. But overall, loved the movie. It was definitely the best movie that's after a game that I've ever seen. That there are quite a few actually, that I haven't seen. So far the best. Apparently, Warcraft has passed 400 million in sales, so that's kind of crazy. There was also a director's cut. 40 minutes of extra footage was cut from the movie, and people were hoping it would be on the DVD, but Duncan Jones on Twitter has said he's not sure what's going to be on the DVD, doesn't know about the director's cut. What? If anybody knows, you would think it would be Duncan, but maybe I'm wrong about how all that crap works. I would love to see the director's cut, and I hope that we will be given the opportunity to see that as well, for those of us that just really want to know what else is out there. Hopefully they make a sequel, many sequels. I'd love to know their rendition and how they portray other stories, and what the hell they decide to tell about Dalaran and how it became floating all of a sudden before, and then what happened when Lich King, I mean, what? The DVD is up on Amazon for pre-order sale. It's 15 bucks for Amazon streaming version, $20.99 for Blu-ray, $18 for DVD, $29.99 for 4K. Don't have a 4K TV, but I do have a 3D TV, and there is no 3D version, so I'm holding out. Hopefully that comes up for pre-order soon. We'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed the movie if you've seen it. I hope you do enjoy it if you go to see it. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope it helped you in some way. Or let me know in the comments if you agree, if you have other points you'd like to make about the movie that I may have missed. And I will see you guys on the next video. I hope you have a great day. Please do drop me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll talk to you soon. I love you all. Bye!